Hi guys, Squirrel here. Oregon, Beaver State, a new map DLC for American Truck Sim. Probably one of the most diverse states in the Northwest Americas, so it has lots of forestry, plenty of water, rivers, bridges, but weirdly enough it also has deserts and scrublands. In theory, that makes it a great choice to expand the world of American Truck Sim. So is the DLC worth buying? Let's take a look. There are 14 new cities in the Oregon Map DLC and over 5,000 miles of in-game roads to drive on. It sits across the north of California and Nevada, and if you read the blurb on the Oregon Map DLC, it mentions large truck stops and rest areas, hundreds of new assets, complex interstate junctions, new industries, and there's also new Steam achievements to unlock. So let's start by taking a look at each of the cities, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the DLC. The 14 new cities are Astoria, Portland, the Dalles, Pendleton, and then you've got Newport, Salem, Eugene, Bend, Burns and Ontario. You've got Coos Bay, Medford, Klamath Falls and Lakeview. If we start up here at Astoria, Astoria is the northwestmost city in Oregon Map DLC. It contains a large river and a very cool large bridge. It has an old town feel to it. And it also has a very large logging camp area just here where you can pick up jobs from. Proceeding more to the east, we have Portland. Now, Portland is pretty huge. It's a very large city. It has many bridges in Portland. It has this weird arena called the DOS Music Arena. And if you look at the second letter in DOS Music, it's actually the SCS logo. It also has a very large shipyard and a large truck stop, which is just located here. It's also very well connected. It has major routes going out, the 5 and the 405, and then the 84. If we take the 84 and head east, that takes us to the Dalles. The Dalles is, well, it's more of an area than a city, to be honest with you. It has a very large hydroelectric dam to the northeast. The climate here changes. It becomes more desert-like as you go more easterly, and it has a very large truck stop area as well. There's a church as a centerpiece, and there's a riverside boat and various huts. It's very well done. If you go down the south here, you get some twisty roads and there's a couple of industrial areas that you can pick up on. But if you head out east on the 84, that will take us all the way down to Pendleton. Pendleton is different again in its climate. It's a very busy town and it has a vast farming area to the east. Also to the east are some very twisty roads and some rest areas, and there's some toll booths up here. Weighing stations, and if you continue onwards, the 84 will take you down to Ontario. We'll come back to that later. Now do pay attention to these little connecting roads, these north-south roads here. The 395, which comes out of Pendleton, is quite a nice drive, and you can normally tell by if it starts to twist around, then think to yourself, well, it's probably going to get quite interesting. Same thing with the Dalles. You get these kind of twisty roads that come out of it. So don't just take the 84 across the top though, and be sure to go down some of these other more interesting roads. Speaking of travelling north-south, let's go back to Astoria a second and look at this road here, the 101. The 101 is a coastal road that runs all the way down here, and this is, of all the roads I've seen in Oregon Map DLC, this is the one that I recommend that you take a drive down. It is beautiful. It's all down the coast. It's fantastic to drive down. Apparently in real life it's just as good as well. So the 101 comes out of Astoria and it goes down to Newport. Now, Newport is more of a kind of a drive-through town along the coast, and what I mean by that is it's not really so much as a destination, just as a place that you kind of drive through. You can tell by the way it's laid out that it's designed for that kind of thing. It has a large bridge which crosses the river. It has plenty of harbours, boats and RVs and shops. So this to me is more of a leisure kind of a city out of all of them. I'm not surprising because the scenery is pretty nice. There's also some industry just to the east, but if we continue south down the 101, that takes us to Coos Bay. Coos Bay is south of Newport, and it's a similar drive-through, except that it's Coos Bay is larger and more industrial. You can see from the grid-like pattern that it is designed to be more industrial. It has a lot of suburban districts and smaller bridges as well. If you carry on down of Coos Bay to the south, the 101 will eventually take you back down towards Eureka. But if you come back and have a look at Portland for a second, Portland has Route 5, which goes south to Salem. Now, Salem is a large area of commercial and shopping districts with a little bit of industry on the periphery. It also has an airfield and a school bus station. If we carry on south, we come to a smaller town of Eugene. It's a rather pleasant town centre, this one. It has lots of shops, suburban housing. You kind of have office buildings on the periphery. And then, strangely enough, you have this huge intersection to the south of Eugene, which is flanked east and west by industry. So, to the east, you get this very, very large factory, and to the west, there's a rather large industrial estate. So, in Eugene, the industry is kind of pushed outside, and the main shopping and building and office space is kept in the town centre. If we take the Route 5 even more south, this will take us down to Medford. Now, on the way, there's a couple of weigh stations and plenty of rest areas. There's quite a large rest area over here, as you can see. But once you get into Medford, this is the most southwest city in the Oregon map. This is quite a spread out city. It's a mix of commerce, but mostly industry. It has a large amount of housing, including areas where new homes are being built, which I've never seen before, so they're obviously new assets in American Truck Sim. It also has a golf course, which I think is probably the first one I've seen in American Truck Sim, and a very, very large sprawling logging area to the southwest of the city down here. The road, of course, will continue to take you back into Hornbrook, but if you go to the forestry area, this is quite an interesting drive. This, like I said, this is a very sprawling logging camp just southwest of Medford. If we go back up to the Dalles and work south again, so this time we've got the 97 and the 197, both fairly interesting roads to take, and if you take them, the 97 will take you down to Bend. Bend is situated, if you look, roughly in the middle of the map, and it's well connected, so you often find yourself driving through Bend as you kind of transit east and west or north and south on the map. It has a very large farming area to the northeast. There's nothing really special about Bend. It looks like the transit city that it is, but it does have another large logging district to the southwest. And this is one of the things about Oregon itself is there's huge amounts of logging and wood, natural resources, and you'll see city after city having many sort of either logging areas or sawmills. Or Bend has a very large logging camp here to the south. If we carry on down south, we end up at Klamath Falls just before there's a weigh station here and some rest areas. Now, Klamath Falls is spread out. It's a very low-rise town. Seems to focus mostly on processing rather than gathering of resources. So you'll find here there's metal processing facilities. There's also a very, very large sawmill, which is presumably taking wood from Bend. So I assume Bend logs it and then they bring it down to Klamath Falls for it to be cut up at the sawmills. If we carry on to the east this time, we'll take the 139 becomes a 299. Looks like there may be possibly some roads missing here. I can see a 299 and a 299 there, so I'm not sure if there should be a connecting road. But anyway, if you go east into Lakeview, Lakeview has this kind of ironic name really. At first I struggled to find the actual lake where they have a view. When I did find it, it's on the southwest of the city, and none of the houses seem to have a view of the lake, so I'm not quite sure why it's called Lakeview. Anyway, it's a typical town. It's got shops and homes in it. There's also a building going on which looks like it's a sawmill. Some home building going on, and a sawmill right next to it. But other than that, there's nothing really particularly special about Lakeview. Again, it's just a kind of a drive-through sort of town. Now, over to the east of Bend and to the northeast of Lakeview is Burns. Burns is a relatively quiet town, really. There's some home building going on here. There's a smattering of industry, but mostly it's just a drive-through place. Like I say, it does have this rather nice road to the north, but there's not a great deal going on in Burns. It has a nice creek running through it, though, and some pretty pleasant scenery. So if you do go there, slow down and just have a look around, because you'll find some little Easter eggs hidden around there. And then if we carry on to the east, the most easterly city in the Oregon map DLC is Ontario. Now, I kind of thought that Ontario would be on a par with Portland in terms of its size, but it's not actually that big in the map DLC. It's a very spread out city though, and it does have some industry, lots and lots of homes, but not a great deal in terms of shopping areas. It's large connecting roads though. It has big connecting roads to the north, south and to the west, and it has a river to the east with a bridge and a very large truck area. So that is a quick overview of all of the cities in the Oregon Map DLC. Let's give you my final kind of thoughts on the whole thing and whether I think it's worth buying or not. So then, having shown you round the map, what's my thoughts on it? What's my thoughts on the DLC? I think it's a quality map DLC. I think there's some great destinations, some great landmarks, and some of the bridges, like the one behind me here, they're just fantastic. There's quite a lot of bridges in this map, and some of them even raise and lower. There's a lot of diverse kind of landscape as well. It's dominated by trees, Oregon, but there's a lot of prairie land and desert areas, and they're reproduced in the map. You'll see that as you drive around. Some of the places that you drive are stunning, particularly down that west coast, Route 101. There's plenty of new assets too, lots of new things that I've not seen before. And there's Easter eggs scattered around that you can discover. To me, it feels like the color grading has been changed as well. I don't know if it's a thing across American Truck Sim or specifically for Oregon, but it feels desaturated and it feels more natural to look at. I really appreciate the look they've gone for. As I record this video, there's no announced price for the DLC, but I would expect it to be in line with previous map DLCs. Release date is pegged for the 4th of October 2018. Is it worth buying? That's the big question. I would say so, yeah. It's a good quality map, it's detailed, it's very pleasant to drive, the frame rates are high, and as the map area of American Truck Sim gets bigger with every DLC, it really expands the driving range that we have. I just wish that SCS could make them more quickly. So in total, it definitely gets a thumbs up from me. I definitely recommend you buy it if you love ATS. That's it from me. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, take care. Happy trucking.